Port Adelaide are through to a prelim final. Up off the canvas. What a performance by Ken Hinkley and his boys. Character. They are lion hearts. Brisbane has done the unthinkable. And Chris Fagan cannot hide his delight.
Well, here we are on a Thursday night. It is the 19th of September. We've just ticked past 8 o'clock. We are up to show 100 and episode 153 of So What's Been Happening. Good to have a couple of the boys back again tonight to talk a little bit of prelim pressure. It's going to be an interesting one tonight. We won't go for too long. Our little 20-minute chats go for 45 to 2 hours. So we'll try and fit somewhere in amongst there tonight. Let's get this under an hour tonight, but we're going to call him Sit Back Snoozy tonight because it's he knows what to do to make himself look good on camera, this man. All right, let's welcome him up. It is the great Cuzz. Welcome back, Cuzz.
Hi, Az. Good to see you, mate. How are you?
Good, mate. It is a good one tonight. Prelim time. It's an exciting time of year. It's sadly none of our teams have made the cut. A little bit of unrest at the Bombers during the week, which is always nice to see. Especially as Adam will say as a Hawk man.
Is there a day go by where we can't just, even if they start making up something positive now? I'm getting to that point now.
Yep. Yeah.
So not only trying to offload Jake Stringer, but now his mates can't come into the rooms either. So it's the double kick.
Well, the funny part for me is you can actually win an award now for being in the press for having an untrue story, which I think's quite amazing for Mr. Tom Morris to start winning awards, causing a ruckus with no truth to the story in the end. But at the end of the day, they own the media. They make it up. They own the story. We've got nothing to say about it. Off we go. Tonight is prelim night, so let's bring up the Hawk that's had his wings clipped, fair to say. Welcome back, Adam. Welcome back.
Mate, just got my head out of a bucket today. Ready for tonight. Welcome, Aaron and Cuzz. Thanks for having me on again.
Good to see you, mate.
Thanks, mate. I didn't think I was going to be up for it, but look, up and about, still the Hawks. We'll be there next year. We'll get a couple of good players in battle and who's the other one? The defender, Barras.
Yep.
And I think we need a plan C. We didn't have a plan C the other night. They just beat it, but they had too many players in the corridor. They stopped our game. We didn't have a plan C. But, look, they're young. They'll learn. They'll look at the tapes. They'll go away in the off-season. Some players will build up. They'll get bigger, stronger, and you learn. It's all about learning. And, yeah, look, Sicily. If he kicks that ball 10 centimetres to the right, would be a different story tonight.
And it's also it's funny how we always go down to that last moment that loses it, but there was a couple of times it was lost before that. There was a couple of goals that should have been goals. It's hard to put Sicily right in the gun for just that moment. But yes, he didn't own that moment and he missed it by a touch. So disappointing in the end, but what a season for the Hawks. One to be proud of. 5 rounds in, you mustn't have thought, you're just making up numbers, making up draft choices. Now you got to a final and very close to a prelim. Massive effort for the Hawks, and definitely a season you got to be proud of.
Oh, mate, look, 5 rounds in. And then we won round 6 or 7. We gained a little bit of momentum. We got on a bit of a roll. Then we started dreaming, and next thing you know, these young players started having, one out of the box here, one out of the box there, and then, it just started to gel. The planets aligned. They got 50, 60 games under their belt. And they're all buying into what Sam's, selling.
Yep.
And because he's got that relationship with all of them, on a different level. And I think he just lets the players be who they are.
Yep.
And he's got them on board. And look, we'll just see what happens the next couple of years. I think we'll do well. And but yeah, it's going to be hard this weekend watching the finals. But we move on.
We do. Better for the run, they say, to use a racing terminology. That Cuzz would attest to. But Cuzz, here we are with this is where it's got to. 4 left, 2 exit, no Giants, no Hawks. We got the Swans, Port Adelaide, Geelong, and Brisbane to make up the big one. So we're just going to touch on the game that lost. The lost the unlosable was GWS. There's some interesting stories to come out of that one, including this one. 20 minutes into the third quarter, we're sitting at 80-36, and then I turned the TV off, had a gutful. Was pretty proud of the Giants actually to see where they got to. Just thought they were fantastic, to be honest. And then it all went pear-shaped, didn't it?
Yeah, and look, I watched it with John, who was on the podcast last week. We caught up Saturday night. He was out somewhere, and he came down sort of just after the second half. So by the time he got here, we went out and had a couple of beers. It was in the start of the third quarter, and when we ordered the beers, I looked over and said, "They had 20 points," and we were both, "No, they're showing a replay or something." But because even then they were 4, but even then the GWS seemed to. I'm not saying they didn't want to win the game, but they seemed to be almost in. We've got to almost try to save the game. Sort of. This was late in the third quarter, and I think. Look, they would never say they played that way, but that's the impression that John and I got from watching, that Brisbane were under the impression, you know what, we're a good side. We've had a poor first half. Let's see what we can do with that. And I watched GWS, so I thought, geez, they're going into safety mode.
Yep. It's interesting. You just can't arrest that momentum anymore. Yeah. It's still another one strikes that, all those goals were kicked and nothing was able to be done about it. So it'll probably go down as one of the biggest chokes that we'll see in a final. Interesting enough, from one of the biggest chokers himself, Kane Corns, who dropped that comment. But just the last one to touch on is what we talk about with Joe Danaher, and we talked about how much he sprays the ball and all that sort of stuff. And just a really interesting stat came up here that it's interesting to see where Joe Danaher sits in this space in a league against the league average. So he kicks it much better than a league average, but it's an interesting chapter. A left footer that can spray it was perfect when it counted.
But he is one of those ones that we spoke about. He's good. His grand final was good last year, and if they won the game, you could probably almost argue he'd been in discussion for the Norm Smith. So his game the other night, he basically impacted and got them over the line. His last quarter and a half was elite.
Yep.
Every time he touched a footy or got involved, he either scored a goal himself, or a goal resulted from his actions or his impact on the contest.
Yep.
What do you think, Adam?
I'm probably going for Brisbane at the moment.
Yeah.
But there's just something about that guy that shits me.
Oh,
The back of my teeth. I don't know what it is. Look, he's probably a lovely bloke. He's probably, a humble guy, but he just annoys the shit out of me. But he did get them over the line. Look, I just hope that Brisbane, they've been there a couple of times. They've lost a couple of grand finals. Look, no one ever deserves it. You got to go earn it, right? Forget this, this
Right
deserved thing. So, look, I'm probably going for them. They're playing Geelong. Geelong are hot. They got a lot of run at the moment. But, mate, that was a great fight back. They all chipped in. Zorko, that young, what's his name? The young kid who was injured, he came back. He stood up the last quarter. Lockie Neal had a sore foot.
Ashcroft?
Ashcroft, he but they all were accountable. They all just never gave up. I think they just got this belief at the moment. So, look, I like Fagan. He was at the Hawks for a few years. He's probably got this year, next year to get something out of him. And then the window probably closes. Look, that's my analysis.
Righto. Just before we kick into the big week that is now, we've got a special guest that missed out on the grey memo by the look of it. Nothing was said in relation to wear grey tonight. Ironically, we're all wearing grey. Really bizarre moment. But anyway, the man that's always in black, Electric Mary's finest. Put this one in the diary, boys. November 23, it all goes down. And this is where it all begins to end for Electric Mary. What a celebration this is going to be. And we'll talk to Rusty about how good this celebration is going to be. There's touring Europe, doing all sorts of things, getting as many shows in as where everyone will welcome them. It's Electric Mary and Rusty, the great Rusty Brown. Look at that pose. Hey, that's a concert calendar pose if ever I've seen one. Welcome back, Rusty.
No, this is straight out of Cleo magazine.
Yeah, the most eligible bachelor that's not a bachelor. So welcome back, mate. You must be happy that you're on the other side of the draw right now, not playing the Cats or Brisbane. Or the question is, are you? Do you, out of those three teams that are left, where does Port Adelaide rate for you to come up against them for this week?
To be honest with you, I've always been comfortable with Port Adelaide. I didn't realise that they've beaten us 8 times in a row because I was probably way back in history when we beat them 13 out of 14. So I've always been okay with them. When was the one that Aliir punched the ball off the line? Was that last year? Callum Mills kicked it and it didn't reach.
I think that was last year.
Oh, I think that was the SCG.
Not so long ago.
Last year. Look, I, in all honesty, I'm a bit scared. We've been to 7 grand finals since '96, more than anybody, and we've lost 5 of them. So I'm a bit scared. But I think we can beat any one of those sides. I'd love to play Geelong in a grand final on a tone for 2022.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm not scared of them either. We beat them this year. We've beaten everyone. We didn't beat Port Adelaide. They thumped us by 112 points. But, I don't think it's 1975 anymore. I think if you got beat by 112 points in 1975, you'd never think you could win the game. But it's just, that was a bad day and we move on and we actually, we're putting our hand up for another grand final. And that'll be 8. That's one every 3 years. Just in case you don't know, you blokes who are never in finals.
Or not good at maths.
Yeah.
Yep. And speaking of not being in the final, North Heidelberg sadly bowed out, mate. Just it wasn't their year this year after you talked them up.
I did talk them up. I said it was going to be a North Heidelberg premiership and a Sydney Swans premiership. So I'm one down so far.
Yep.
Look, both games we just weren't good enough, and that's all there is to it. We've got good footballers. I'm not sure we have the speed the other teams have. So it was football versus speed, and I think the Montmorency and Greensboro just played better. We actually played all right against Greensboro, but they were just better on the day, and that's all there is to it.
Yep. Well, we've got a similar story in the AFL this week. Coming up into the finals, where a team's dominated early and looked good on the scoreboard or on the ladder, so to speak, with the Swans, and everyone's playing catch up. And that's kind of exactly where it is with the Northern Footy League with Heidelberg. The question is who can beat them on their day. So you just got to get to the big dance. That's the first step, Rusty. You got to get over a hurdle first, which is Port Adelaide, who are going to be incredibly hungry now, I reckon, because they stole that one off the Hawks. So let's see how it all pans out. But it all goes down on Friday night. Gadigal land, they call it, made in Sydney. This is the place. This is the place, and this is where it's all going to happen. So let's bring the boys up. And let's get some opinions on how we think this game's going to start to pan out. Where's it won and lost? We talk, and that's a very, very good point, Rusty. Footy versus speed. Have we got a similar scenario here in Port Adelaide and Sydney? Who wants to kick us off there?
I think we're a similar type of teams. We've both got good midfields. We both have forwards that look like they're not really doing anything, and someone else is kicking the goals. And our back lines are similar as well. I mean, who's the main backman at Port Adelaide? Probably Alir.
Yep.
Who's the one they picked up from Essendon? They complain about him all the time, but he seems to do all right.
Dirk Thatcher.
Dirk Thatcher. Yeah. Who else is in their back line? I wouldn't even know.
Let's have a look.
Well, they're trying to get Burton fit to play.
Yeah, he might play.
But look, I think you summed up beautifully here, Rusty. I think Port and Sydney are two sides where their reliance almost a bit too much on their goal-kicking midfields.
Yeah.
Look, and I think from the only concern, I spoke to a couple of mates today, a bloke I've known for the best part of 50 years, went to primary school, everything with him. Him and his dad are passionate Swannies like yourself. Their concern is, well, we haven't beaten Port that often in the last 7 or 8 years, but it's more what you're going to get out of Joel Amati. What's he going to bring as a forward? Hopefully he can bring a contest, get the ball to ground, and then your smalls can go to work. But his output the last week was pretty ordinary, the last time he played, and also the time before that. So that's probably there, and that's probably my concern as well. Look, I think the best side over the course of the whole year has probably been your mob. But whether Amati and Logan McDonald as sort of key forwards, and even McLean a bit as well, whether they can go to work to give your small forwards their sort of scrap joint off is what's going to decide the game. Because I think your mids are pretty even. They're both pretty strong on the midfield. I'm like you, Rusty. I don't think we've seen what Port did after they got soundly beaten by Geelong. It's not back in the 70s or even earlier where if you've got 100 points, it'd be sack the coach, get rid of the committee. We'll park that, we'll move on. And I think playing at home, I think your best is better than their best. And I think due to that, I think you'll win the game.
Interesting.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Obviously, it's going to make a big difference, I reckon, this one being in Sydney. I'm not certain Port. I know it's very easy to say that the last 8 years or 8 appearances, this is what's happened. But I think you just got to rule that one out now and put a line in the sand and say, man, this could be a different one. And if they go in with the mindset of if they've got it over the line, then the Swans are going to belt them, in my opinion. they've got a lot of work to do. But I think it's going to be a pretty even contest. I'm tipping a pretty close one, to be perfectly honest. But I mean, I think it's all in the hands of guys like Chad Warner. They've got to do what they did. Rampy's the man. Papley, if Papley gets him going, you know what he's like. I think he was very resurgent in their comeback, kicking that goal, getting the entire crowd up and about. It makes a big difference, doesn't it, Rusty? You've been up in amongst that Sydney crowd. Once they get going, there's a bit of love. I think they actually understand the game now, the Sydney siders.
Oh, yeah. I was there in 96 when Plugger kicked the point in the preliminary final. Took a bit of the grass home with me and took it to the MCG the next week. It didn't help at all.
Yeah, fair
The
enough.
Bombers lost that year. Essendon lost 2 finals that year by a point. Sydney and Brisbane up, I think, the week before. Yeah, thanks, Russ. You could have brought up 1,000 finals, but you had to bring up that one. Appreciate it, mate.
It was actually a great match.
That was a good game of footy, yeah.
I think it was, I'm sure it was like the 24-minute mark when I looked and you were a few goals in front.
Yeah,
or at least 2 goals in front.
Yeah, I think we were. It wasn't even a man. It might have been about 13 points or something, and that's why and then I think you kicked a couple of goals and But, look, when the ball's in his hands on a small postage stamp ground, and the commentator says any score will do, you just got to turn off as a bomb and think.
Who kicked the ball to him?
What's that?
Who kicked the ball to him? Who kicked the ball to him?
Probably Paul Kelly.
Was it Kelly or was it
Paul Kelly?
Paul Kelly.
Fuck, we have to look at that.
Check the tape, Cuzz. Check the tape. There's a bit of homework.
Paul Kelly or was it Paul Kelly or Paul Bevan, number 42?
Paul Bevan.
Did Kelly bring it out of the back line? Kelly brought it out of the back line and Paul Bevan maybe kicked it. I can't remember now.
We're starting to really sound like football experts on this show. So just in case everyone knows, mate, we're by no means experts. We've got plenty of opinions and we're having a bit of fun in amongst this chat. So, I mean, we've got 2 new full forwards effectively for this week, boys. Charlie Dixon, if he rolls up and decides to play this week after an injury. And
have they picked their side yet?
Yep.
Have they picked their side?
Down. Yep, they're in. He's in.
So
Dixon in. Burton's in.
Yep. And Joel Amati, effectively a new full forward, given that he had a kick last week or the week before that won on the game. So, he's pretty much a new recruit, and then we'll see how it goes. But we're looking forward to that game for sure. We've obviously got a few late outs tonight. We had 3 boys pull out, so it's good to have the 4 of us on this chat talking. Not too in depth, let's face it, but can Grundy pull a fairy tale here? And finally get a premiership medal. Let's not call it too early. He's got to make the final first, let's face it. But an interesting run. Rusty, give us a margin, mate. What's your thoughts?
In my expert opinion, I have no idea, but I'll say the Swans by 13.
Okay. And the question is it a comeback and they win by 13, or they stay ahead all day? And how's it going to pan out for you? What's your thoughts? We want a bit of a story
we stay ahead all day. We stay ahead all day. I'm tired of these slow starts. They're unbelievably bad.
Yep.
The last time I watched the Port Swans game, the last one, I was when it got to the 11th goal, I just turned it over to the Olympics. It was 11 goals to 0.
That was a hard
And
watch.
I was so thankful that the Olympics were on and Australia was actually doing all right. The female swimmers were kicking butt, and that's what I watched.
Well, no Olympics tomorrow night, no Paralympics to watch.
No, there's nowhere to hide.
I think you'd be turning over for MASH reruns otherwise.
That'll be the last thing. I'll turn on to the Munsters.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Cuzz. Give us your thoughts, Cuzz. how's it going to pan out for you? We got you on mute, Cuzz. Come back in a second. All right. That's working well. Let's go to Adam. We were going around the grounds. Adam, what's your thoughts, mate? Is it going to be a Sydney fairy tale, or is Port going to get it done after you saw them knock off your Hawks?
Look, first of all, they're playing in Sydney. So, like, if there's no time and space, so you're under pressure. Finals footy is already it's a pressure game. Now, it's just a shit ground. Did I say that? I said that. But I mean, having said that, I just think it's going to be a hot footy. Like, who turns up? Depends who turns up. I don't think Sydney's going to run away with it. It's a prelim. If it was at the MCG, different story, time and space, but it's not going to be. I reckon there'll be a goal in it either way.
Yeah, I think we all know that the Swans are incredibly good at getting the ball and hurting you quick with a massive quick rebound. And then once they go, they just hit the middle. And on those kind of grounds, you can afford to. Rusty, is that your thoughts there? Are they going to rip up the middle? Don't play those pockets, which aren't non-existent.
I'm hoping they just try and play the way they've played all year, and don't change it up now. But I'm sure the coaches think of one thing or a couple of things they can try and do that are different. Yep. I mean, Ken will be thinking of some, and Longmire and whoever else is in his fraternity will think of something different.
Yep.
I mean, you wouldn't train all summer and, all through the year and be on top of the ladder and then suddenly decide that you better change it up in finals.
Yep.
I wouldn't think so. Well, I wouldn't know. Last senior team I coached was Watsonia Seconds.
If you watched that game a couple of weeks ago, mate, Papley, these types of players, they're really good because, the ball comes, there were tap-ons, there was like handballs out the back. Like, by the time you get the ball and try and play a normal game of footy, you're already, you're being tackled. The amount of times there was a little flick or a little run on, like, they should just be practicing that, quick, just like split second stuff, because there's no space. Like three or four of those goals, if you look at them, mate, they were handballs like that. Just and it was stupid. Like,
but hitting targets.
Yeah, hitting targets.
That's what I imagine doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah, you can't do that at the MCG. Fuck, no chance.
No. I think that style of footy works on this ground for this game. Just go for it, back your skills. Whoever's the quickest and whoever doesn't fumble the most is going to get the job done. But you got to convert. I think it's going to be one of those matches where every chance has got to be made a winner. You start kicking points. Yeah, as you know, we that gives them the chance to not only turn the ball over, but you get hurt really quick coming out of fullback on Sydney SCG. If you can get a big long kick in, and next minute you're up the other end and getting scored against. So let's bring Cuzz up now that you've rewired, Cuzz. Let us know what you think.
Sorry, boys. 2 windows at one time doesn't go well, thanks to the internet. I think the Swannies by about 25 points. I think, as the other boys touched on yourself, as that surge mentality works well at the SCG. And as much as I said that McDonald and possibly McLean and Amati are struggling, the shorter ground, they're sort of taken out of the equation a little bit. So it's more a lot of goal-kicking midfielders, which both sides have got, and I think Sydney's are better. To answer the other question, Wade Chapman, number 27, was the bloke who hit Tony Lockett on the chest in 1996, much to my disgust or to Rusty's delight.
Yeah.
But look, I think it'll be a good game of footy. But the point you made is very true, and it sounds cliched. It's going to be a game, like they all are, especially finals, where if you don't hit the scoreboard, you give a side a chance. And I think Ken Hinkley and the Port players committee and even their supporters, I think they're happy to be in the prelim. Of course, who wouldn't be? but I think they're considering it a free hit. If they find a way to get over Sydney, good and well, obviously making a grand final, but I don't think their best is good enough to beat Sydney if Sydney bring their best to the ballpark.
Yep. Yeah, we've got Rusty by 13. Adam, you said
A goal either way.
yeah, okay. I reckon you're right, mate. I reckon it's going to be close. So I've got the Swans by 2 points. Rusty's going to be nervous, let me tell you, right to the death knock. So sadly, Rusty, it's not going to be a comfortable ride for you this week. But who knows? I'd take the 2 points any day of the week as long as you're as long as you can go down a winner. You're a happy man. But all right, we've got who else? Just someone posted a comment. Hurricane can't join us tonight, but he's thrown in a little sneaky Swans by 5,
sneaky.
so that's exciting. And he's a little bit more confident about his Cats, so to meet you in the grand final. So Swans by 5. So we're tipping the close ones, boys. It's not going to be a blowout. So Friday night is going to be a hot one. But just before we jump into the last game, boys, I want to touch on one little special segment that we have that we dedicate this one to you, Cuzz.
Like the 89 grand final, Cuzz's classic. Like a dim sim, Cuzz's classic. It's what the crowd come to see, Cuzz's classics.
Yeah.
All right, Cuzz, what do you got for us?
You won't be disappointed. Look, obviously with the change of season, obviously winter a couple of weeks there into spring, and obviously what that brings, the flowers growing and different sort of weather forecasts and weather conditions. Like a lot of people had a bit of man flu over the last sort of week and a bit. So I brought out the old good TV, the old Vicks VapoRub, and there's the Vicks VapoRub's normally pretty good, just on your chest and your nose, a little bit on the in the nostrils.
Yep.
You don't want to put it in the wrong spot, the Vicks VapoRub. We won't go into any sort of great detail, but it can get a bit stingy.
Yep.
But you and I, when I told you of the man flu, we spoke about obviously going into footy season or towards the end of footy season now, but any mature men or any men and women that play sport, they like to sort of rub their muscles and keep them nice and loose and keep themselves nice and fit. So I spoke about the old Tiger Balm and the old Dencorub, and you never want to get the old Dencorub or the Tiger Balm into the eye of the you-know-what or anywhere else, or any orifice.
Yep.
So I had to chat to my sister and I said, have we got any Tiger Balm? And she goes, no, I've got the new version of the Tiger Balm,
right,
which is called the Pain Away.
Yeah, Pain Away. There you go.
So it's Pain Away Forte Heat Joint Muscle Pain Relief Cream. Topical anti-inflammatory. That's exactly what it says on the thing. Topical anti-inflammatory, which to me that translates to you put it to anywhere where it can get inside your skin and you're in a bit of pain.
Yep. Yep. Well, I think we've all played a little bit of footy and junior footy in amongst our life, and there was always the old Dencorub that came out, or in this case, here it is, mate, the classic Tiger Balm. There it is, the old winner. This one's a little small container. It's not the old sniffing salts, mate, that used to get you up. It was just rub a little bit on the old sore spot in junior footy. But then you had to, sadly, just before you ran out, had to go for the leak behind the shed. And it was always a problem if, depending on which hand you used, could have caused you dramas. But it used to fire the boys up, fair to say, if you ever got it in the wrong spot. So I'm sure we've all had one of those little moments. I'm sure. What about Rusty?
The other one we all would have had at some stage.
Go, Cuzz. Yep.
The Watts only at twos would have had that for sure at some stage, wouldn't they, Rusty? Some sort of injury would have had to deal out a bit of Tiger Balm or something like that.
Oh, yeah. They used to have the smelling salts because Bernie Smythe used to go to sleep. He was the captain. He used to sleep before the game. They'd wake him up about 10 minutes before they had to run on the ground. Very famous player.
Nice.
Very good player, actually.
You almost nodded off a couple of seconds ago, I think, Rusty. You've had a big day.
I'm not sure we had any.
The old Tiger Balm, that's the one. Just smells like footy, doesn't it?
Well, the other one that obviously, as I said, we've all suffered at some stage from man flu, and we all know how deadly man flu can be. But I was taken to the eucalyptus, the old smell, the eucalyptus tissue. Like as you blow your nose, that just that instant clear. And I think, and even though you still got the runny nose, you tell yourself it still smells better. And we would have had it all as kids. As I said, I showed the old Vicks VapoRub. It cures everything. I remember my mum when I was younger. Oh, you just put a bit of Vicks on your chest. Yeah, Mum, that's cold. It's not making me warmer. That's actually cold on my chest.
Nothing better than the old Vicks. So that's one of the old. Not only the sounds of football, but definitely one of you heard the yelling if ever you got that in the wrong spot. But the Tiger Balm, the Dencorub, the Vicks Vapor Drops, you name it, mate. It's all part of the smell of footy and the classic liniment. They used to call it back in the day. It was always good.
Why don't they use that anymore?
Well, I think Buddy was one of the last ones.
More players should run out with oil wire. I used to tell my son to wear it. No one can tackle you.
Yeah, I reckon Tom Hawkins is probably one of the last ones I saw get out there and really buff up the biceps.
Buddy was oiled up. Buddy,
but after Buddy, so as far as still part of the common game, which I don't think he's going to get a run, sadly, in Geelong's team for this last part of the final series. But Tom Hawkins, he always came out with the buffed up arms just before they kicked off. So we're going to talk about that last game, boys. Here we are with it is going to be, where is it? Give me a
Saturday, June.
It's going to be a big one. The Cats versus the Lions. The Lions have done all their homework or done all their hard work up at home. Now they get to play on the big dance floor, on the big ground. And the question is, can they cut it?
They put in their side
when it counts. Changes? Yeah. Well, let's have a quick look at the changes. Cuzz, what have you got for us?
I'll have a quick look. Give me 2 secs.
Zach Tui's out.
Yeah, Tui's out.
What else has happened? I think that's the only change. So Tom Hawkins is out. He's not getting a recall.
Yep. Tom Stewart's in. Zach Tui out.
Stewart's in.
Yeah.
Tui out.
And the classic no change at Brisbane for now. So that can always change, as we know. It's always good to know who's the magic sub. They've got an extra day up their sleeve, so it'll come around quick enough.
Does the week off favour the Cats, and I suppose Sydney as well, as we did speak about that game? Does the week off favour the Cats because Tom Stewart gets another week off? My opinion is, I don't think the lack of continuity will be good for the Cats.
Yeah, well, they talked about one game in 28 days.
I think Brisbane have got a bit of continuity now, got a bit of belief, and I think I don't say you should lose one to win one, but I think the experience of last year, I think they got over their MCG hoodoo a bit last year, and I think the MCG doesn't hold the same fears for them that it did. So I think them in a close one. I think them by a couple of goals in a close one.
Righto. Well, Nunny obviously doesn't agree. He was very much the Cats by 42. So let's see. Let's go around the grounds here. So that's dominant Cats. I'm not certain they're going to win by that much, but I've got a close one. But I'll put mine last. Adam, what's your thoughts? What are the Cats going to do? Or
mate,
can Brisbane get it done?
Look, they're just gone under the radar, Geelong. No one's been speaking about them. They kind of they had a good game, then a bad game, then 3 good games and 2 bad games all year. Like it hasn't been, but when they're on, mate, they got this run that you can't stop them. But then when they look bad, they look really bad.
Yep,
they're just that team. So my opinion is, I just still think. Look, I want Brisbane to win, but maybe I think that Brisbane played their grand final last week.
Yep.
Maybe I think they played their grand final last week. I don't know.
Are we onto the weather forecast, boys? Is that going to have an effect at the G?
Yeah.
Brisbane coming down, no sun, cold night. Good friend of ours, Angie Jones. She's a mad cat. It's interesting to know that, it could affect both teams. You're right, but I think it's going to affect Brisbane a bit more than it's going to affect the Cats. So I think the Cats like it in and dirty and wet, and that's going to be their style of game. Give us a margin, boys.
Geelong by 3 goals.
3
But I
goals.
want-
Okay,
I think
so
Brisbane-
fairly confident. Yep.
Brisbane by a couple, and that's not said with any degree of confidence,
Yep.
because
Brisbane by a
I'm
couple.
concerned, as Adam just touched on, that Brisbane had their grand final there, or not so much Brisbane. Danaher had his big game last week.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yep. Well, the Cats are starting favourite so
If he
far.
brings that again and gets off the chain,
Yep.
I can't say who stops him if he gets off the chain, though.
Okay. Rusty, we're coming to you. So give me your thoughts, mate. Who's gonna do it, and who's gonna take on the Swannies next week, or the week after?
To be honest with you, I just think anyone can win either of their games. I would love to see Fitzroy versus South Melbourne. That would be my.
Yep.
But if I had
That's
to
tradition.
flip a
I love it.
coin,
I love it.
if I had to flip a coin, I would love redemption on Geelong for 2022. I would love that.
So you just need to get
The
there.
annoying part
And you're
about
happy either way.
the annoying part about the games that the Swans play in these finals is we never play anyone that's a Richmond or a Carlton. We played Collingwood last year, but it was in Sydney. There's no one to talk to. There's no one to say anything. When we won the premiership against the West Coast, I only knew one person that barracked for the West Coast. I don't know anyone that barracks for Port Adelaide. I probably know 3 Brisbane supporters and probably more Geelong, but yeah.
Yep. It's a problem. But it'd be a bloody good problem to have. I'll take not being
I
able to
love
boast.
that problem. Rusty is a Bomber supporter.
You can come and boast on this show anytime, Rusty. Rusty, just before we let you go, mate, I just want to touch on the upcoming tour. It's been 20 plus unbelievable years for Electric Mary. We're going to come on and we're going to talk a little bit about this little one in the next few weeks or month as you lead into the tour. But you know that it's an exciting one. The Corner Hotel to kick it off. Tell us what it means to you, mate, to start the tour for the last time for Electric Mary at the Corner Hotel.
Well, as you alluded to before, that is where the first gig was for us. It's been 21 years. It's taken me a little bit to get used to the fact that I won't have that band anymore, and we all knew that it was it has to come to an end at some stage. I'll be 65 next year when that happens, so that used to be retirement age. And for me, and I don't want to sound like other people have been saying this lately because I'm definitely not in their league, but I don't want to go out not doing whatever it is I do at my level to the best of my ability. That's one thing that's important to me. Like, I don't, it probably sounds a bit silly, but I don't want people looking at me going, why is that guy still trying to do it? I just play music because I love music and I want to play live. Live is my thing. So this last tour, so I think a few people may have kind of thought that this was our last gig in Melbourne, which it's not. We'll do this one, and then we'll do one in each state, probably just one, as big a gig as we can do, and then we'll go to Europe, and then we'll come back to Melbourne and play one last show in 2025, probably in about November. So there's not that many shows. We're a working band, and unfortunately some of our members work in other bands as well, so everyone has to make a living. But this is we've got a new single which is going to be mixed in a couple of days, It's dedicated to the late Sean Gardner, who I went to school with, and we played in bands together. And he passed away in July the 29th, I believe. And so, yeah, this new song, it's not a soppy ballad by any means. It's a powerful rock tune, I think, and I reckon that's the way Sean would have wanted it. And so it's just simply called Sean, which is awesome. And yeah, it should be out by October the 30th, I think. That's his birthday. So we're trying to coincide with his birthday, and then we give the people a month to get used to a new song, and then we come out with a new show, and we'll just go from there. This will be the only show we play this year, and every other show will be probably after February next year. And we try, we want to get to Perth. We want to get to Adelaide and Sydney, Brisbane, Canberra. And if there's more calls for, the Gold Coast or anything like that, we'll go there as well. But we want them to be as big a show as we can. So that's why we're only really doing one. And we're trying to say to the people, if you want to see us, you have to come. Like, there won't be another time to come and see us again.
Yep.
I think you're very humble, Rusty, when you say you do it because you love it. And I've had the pleasure of been to a couple of your gigs, and mate, you don't hold back, which as a fan of the band,
true rock and roll style.
And now that I've got to know you as a bloke as well, mate, you should be, and I think you are, extremely proud of what you and the band have done over a long period of time. And even people I know from before I've met, as you, obviously Adam, I've got to know in the last sort of month or so, who, when I say I do a podcast, and I say, who have you had in your podcast? And I say, oh, this person or whatever. And one bloke watching, he goes, that music, is that Electric Mirror? I said, yeah. And he goes, do you know Rusty Brown? I said, yeah. And he goes, mate, they fucking rock. He fucking rocks.
Good answer. Good answer.
Well,
mate. And we're lucky to have you on, mate. Very lucky to have you on. And still performing well.
Well, I try. Look, I really did mean it. I love playing live. And come the day of the gig, it's like match day for me. Like,
yeah,
I'm not leaving anything on the whatever you call it. I was going to say anything on the table. No, but I'm just not leaving anything in the change room or the band room or whatever you want to call it. When I go out there, I mean it, and it means a lot to me. And if I have a good gig, in my opinion, like, I'll live off that for 2 weeks. But if I don't have a good gig, in my opinion, I'll be so down. But it's as you know, playing music, it's probably the same for sport. I'm sure it is. It's a mental thing as well. If you're switched on and you think you're on, you're on. But if you think you're a little bit off, you're a little bit off. That's what happens. You can actually talk yourself into it. But I think I have a good band, and that's the most important thing. You've got Alex standing next to me, the bass player, who's like his own front man. He's a front man. Pete does his thing. Brett does his thing. And drummers, DRAMA. It's we have a thing. Remember, I say this to people, and I don't know if they understand what I'm getting at, because I may seem like I'm a little old sometimes. But back in the day when there was a band, you knew all the members. You knew their names. You knew what they did. You knew, and you had favourite members in your band, like you have favourite footballers. I think a lot of that's gone now. I think a lot of that sort of stuff has gone by the wayside. Just by the way that, let's say 18 and up, listen to their music, how they control what they're listening to, and how they feel about it. There's a lot more music out there now. A lot more music. Maybe the filters we used to have only gave us the good ones, because from my era came Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, Black Sabbath, Queen, David Bowie, Elton John, like the list goes on. I wouldn't even be able to tell you who the equal to those people are now. Like, who are they out there now? Like Taylor Swift is not an equal. She might do the shows, but that's because your mum's taking your daughter to the gig, or her 3 daughters and her 4 friends. That's how she fills up 93,000. She doesn't fill it up with amazing songs that are going to last forever. And it's a totally different genre anyway. I'm not trying to bag it, but it's a totally different thing. And I say to people all the time, and it's a hard thing now to write a song. 60 years of rock music, a lot of great songs have been written.
Yep.
So when you press record now, or you pick up your guitar and you try and play it, it's like, well, actually that sounds a little bit like that. Okay, where else can I go? It's a
Is that one of the hardest things, Rusty, in today's world? What you just said then, like that you like obviously in some parts of the world they say that mimicry is the greatest form of flattery, but now with copyright and plagiarism and that sort of stuff, if you pick up your guitar or play on your piano and you think, geez, that sounds good, but geez, that sounds a lot like
internet,
whatever it might be.
Yeah. AI's writing our songs now.
Is that the hardest thing for someone? Oh, he's frozen.
That's right. We got the gist of the question. Rusty, just your thoughts, and I think we're probably going to come back on and have a chat in relation to music in the next couple of weeks, because there's so much to give still on the Electric Mary story. I'd like to cover that a little bit, Rusty, and talk about that in the lead up to this show. But most importantly for tonight, I think we want to promote and start to promote this gig. I'd like to see as many people that either tune into this show, have heard of Rusty, have talked to Rusty, are lovers of honest, genuine rock music. Come and see this show, mate. Do us a favor. We're going to have a So What's Been Happening early Christmas party. This is it, November 23 at the Corner Hotel. Let's get as many people we know there. It's going to sell out, so I'd urge you to get on board and get on some tickets. Rusty, unbelievable effort putting out $20 tickets for a very short period of time, which have been snapped up now. So no matter what they pay, I guarantee you this will be a concert you talk about to your mates for a long time. So I'm just going to finish the show with just a little teaser of what, Rusty, as you touched on, and what you bring in the lead up. This is a little intro that I played when I interviewed you a little while ago. And this is a really good little insight into Electric Mary. Here we go.
Give me love anytime, 24/7 hours. Ooh. Give me love anytime, 24/7 hours. I'm gonna hurt you or make you feel bad. I've been around, yeah, I've been around before I've been away. Give me love.
Before I fade away, give me love. What a line, Rusty. That's a cracker. Mate, it's so awesome that I get to have this experience with you, mate, and call you a good mate. We connected very first time I ever saw you, mate, was 2120. Sean Gardner was the man alongside you. It was a memorable ride, mate. I had many great moments to then get amongst Electric Mary, to have our kids grow up together. Mate, it's been a special ride to now talk about footy and talk about life and see your love for music. But let's face it, rock and roll the way it used to taste is a great line for Electric Mary. I can't wait to experience this last tour with you, mate.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. I'm looking forward to it. I'm not looking forward to the end, but I'm looking forward to the journey towards the end.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. As you said, I think on social media, it's all about celebrating. Now, this isn't goodbye.
Yep.
This is a celebration. There's going to be plenty of Rusty Brown around gigs to see and come and see gigs and chat about the great old days. These days aren't going anywhere. Rusty's here for a while yet. We don't get rid of him that easy. So great to have a chat to you, mate, tonight. Thanks for joining in. As always, go Swannies. I've got the Swannies by 2. I've got Geelong by a point. It's going to be a cracker. Let's get them into the final. What a final series this would be, and then get into the grand final. But have a great few days, mate. Enjoy the game. May the best team win, they say.
Thank you. See you, boys.
See you soon, mate. Just bring the boys up for a quick goodbye. Boys, if you didn't feel the love there with Electric Mary, Adam, I can't wait to have you come and see the boys with Electric Mary. We'll have them on the show at some stage. I know you're a guitarist yourself. You love your music. You love rock, mate.
That's a good song.
It's a cracker. It's a cracker. Make sure you get in amongst it and check out some of the stuff. electricmary.com is where you're at. But thanks for joining us tonight, Adam. Cuzz, thanks for joining me as well. Look forward to another show very soon. Good luck to everyone that's playing local footy in amongst local football finals as well for this week. May my beloved Montmorency just please, 40 odd years, mate, it's been. Can this one be the one that steals the show? It's going to be tough, let me tell you. But they got 2 teams in, reserves and seniors. Heidelberg, which is a powerhouse, has got under 19s, reserves and seniors in. An incredible effort. It is Collingwood effectively versus Richmond. So who knows? We might even drag Zammit down for a Richmond experience, because it'll be the only time we see the Tigers at the top again in the next few years. But thanks, Adam, for joining me. If anyone doesn't know who Adam is, he's a great man. He's got plenty on the go. He's got aroundthepan.com.au for paella. And please Google, listen to this podcast and get amongst the experience. Who knows? Listen to this. Might be a food function in amongst this at some stage. You never know. Thanks for everyone for joining us. It's been great footy. It's been a great season of football. We look forward to the finals, the last couple of games. We're counting down, and just to let you know how close this really is we are talking 22 hours, 39 minutes, 20 seconds until the Swans take the field against Port Adelaide, and then we've got 1 day, 20 hours and 14 minutes for the Cats versus the Lions. So there you go. Enjoy your week, everyone. Thanks for everyone for joining us. Have a great week. And I wish I could say go Demons, but it's not going to happen. Anyway, next year, maybe next year. And could be the year of the Bombers, could be the year of the Hawks. We'll finish with this pick, Adam, because I know it was a special one to you. Let's relive this moment.
Here we go. Oh, yeah. Can you see me?
Can you see me? It's not.
Can you see me?
Can you see me?
You put it up again. You can see me there.
Oh, we can all see you. It won't be the last time we bring it up. We might even sell the number plates next week. Let's see how we go. We'll bring them when we bring the boys up. Thanks everyone for joining us. Let's touch on this last slide. We're going to have another mental health show coming up, but just to reach out to everyone, are you okay? Every day.
That's right, Aaron. Great job.